Yes, folks, hello, welcome to yet another action figure review here on the MoDXtra Games and Collectibles channel. And as you can see on the little lightbox stage here, today's installment, we're doing a little bit of DC Multiverse by McFarlane Toys and taking a look at the new Robin Tim Drake figure. So stick around, I'm going to be sharing the live unboxing that I did a couple of days ago and giving you my very first instinctual thoughts as I crack open the package and get the figure in hand for the first time. Then I'm going to be sharing some review thoughts, talking about the aesthetic and the visual experience of the figure, talking about the articulation and how movable and posable it is, and talking about the accessories, what kind of added value has Toddy Boy thrown in with our Robin. And with all that said and done, it is my hope that if you're thinking about picking up a Robin Tim Drake of your own, that the thoughts I share today will help you make your mind up. So let's get into it. Come back with me now in time to a couple of days ago, and let's have a look at the moment I unboxed him. Here we go then, here's the packaging for the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Robin Tim Drake. It's the standard DC Multiverse windowed packaging where you can see the figure in the centre there with the black, white and blue kind of colour scheme thing going on. So we've got Robin there, we've got his bow staff, you can see the trading card and the foot stand in the background. All standard stuff. The McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse packaging has been like this for a long time now. Then on the back, we've got this piece of Robin artwork. This is the same artwork that's on the trading card, I think. Yeah, looks like it is. That's a lovely bit of Brian Bolland artwork, I think, from the first issue of the very first Robin miniseries, which came out, I want to say late 1990 or early 1991. Great collection, actually. Love this miniseries. Fantastic kind of Lady Shiva sort of storyline thing going on there, which I enjoyed a great deal. Then some marketing MacGuffin at the bottom with some QR codes and App Store download thingamadoodads. This side here, just repeating more of the same. Logos, the name, the character name, the series that it's inspired by. And this side here, again, with the window, the name, the logos, marketing, bollocks, you know, all the usual stuff. All right, so let's get Robin open then. I've already popped the tape at the bottom here. So I'll take that out like that and then slide the card piece out. Oh, the card piece came out without the figure. There we go. So the backing card's got the trading card on it and the foot stand. I'll take those off camera in a minute. And then here we have the figure. So we've got the bow staff sellotaped in there. Can I just slide that out without having to work with the sellotape? I can. There we go. Oh, no, I can't. There we go. Right, done. There's the bow staff. Then we've got a batarang up here. Oh, the sellotape, man. I will one day create the special sellotape removal tool for finger biters like me. And then Robin in the plastic frame here. Oh, hang on, some tie wraps first. I feel like I had a multiverse figure recently that wasn't tie wrapped in within an inch of its life, but not the case here with Robin. And then they've done that really awkward thing where they've fed the cape in through the back, which I'm not really a big fan of, nor am I a fan of this. The blister pack noise. Oh, yeah, really not a fan of this, putting the cape in through the back thing. Turns out there was a tie wrap in there that I missed, which was what was preventing me from getting him out. Oh, God, that noise is awful. And there we go. There's Robin with all his included goodies. So I'm going to go away now and display him a little bit and play with him a little bit. Just get good and hands-on, have some man-child playtime to gather some solid review thoughts, and I'll be back in a couple of days to share those with you. So stick around, and Future Chris will be with you in 3, 2, 1. All right then, folks, so here is Robin up close and personal, so we can get into the aesthetic, talk about the visual qualities and the visual experience of the figure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out right up top that I'm broadly, in terms of overall visual experience, not particularly happy with the figure. But I want to contextualize that and make sure that I'm treading carefully to offer critique and not just be a neghead giving a slag off session. So I have a strong nostalgic connection to the Tim Drake Robin character. I was reading Batman comics very heavily in the early to mid 90s, and I was there buying them monthly when Tim Drake came into the narrative and the character appeared for the first time. I read all all of the Batman issues where he was training him up. I read the miniseries where he fought King Snake and got trained by Lady Shiva, and I was there for all the Nightfall and Night's End and Night's Quest stuff. I was there for the duration of the early days of Tim Drake, so I have a strong nostalgic connection to this character, which may be creating some elements of bias, because the problem is that it's on the surface comic book accurate, but not really comic book accurate. And then I think there's been some missteps, some bad decisions with regards to the sculpting. Like the head sculpt here, for example, fundamentally it's all right. Just all right. I'm not going to say great, but it's all right. You know, the features are there, the paint application on the lips, the mask, the white eyes is there, the sculpt of the hair is decently sculpted, although I'm not particularly a big fan of the design choice that they've made there, but it's well sculpted. But it's very smooth and shiny. He seems to have a wide head on him. And I remember Tim Drake to be quite a slim, svelte character, you know, and he's got a kind of bit of a fat, wide head. And then combine that with the visual experience of kind of soaking in this cape line and the collar there and the way they've mounted. I mean, he's got no neck from the front. Look, where's his neck? And he was a slender character, and he looks really broad and muscular and wide, and certainly not teenage. You know, and he looks like just one of those big beefy dudes, those big swole dudes who work out in the beaches in California, you know what I mean? That just doesn't sit right with me in terms of comic book character accuracy. But the face is all kind of smooth and shiny as well. I don't know if that's an effort to make him look youthful, but it hasn't worked, it's failed, and it just looks very shiny and just not up to that usual standard where, you know, with McFarlane, the face sculpting has a lot of personality and character to it a lot of the time, and it's just not there. And then when you soak up that whole upper section with the, I don't know, it's just not working for me, you know what I mean? And as you move down into the main body, you know, there's lots of great sculpted details in here, like the badge here on the chest is, you know, a sculpted on. It sticks out, you know, it's not a dodgy paint application or a shaky decal. You've got these clasps on the front of the body armor here, which are nicely sculpted. And then the body armor itself's got lots of texture and detail in it. The belt, the utility belt, again, nice sculpted texture detail. The underpants here, you can see these kind of creases, these sort of texture creases, and while I'm there, then the nappy section that we often criticise McFarlane Toys for is nowhere near as egregious as others have been in the past, and that's all, you know, lovely and wonderful. But the body armor is not very comic book accurate. It's not particularly accurate to the character. Tim Drake had a more kind of handmade leather, you know, like a Japanese martial arts style handmade leather piece of protective bodywear in this area on his torso, and not this kind of modernized kind of tactical vest body armor piece, which would be more fitting for the likes of, I don't know, the Red Hood or something, you know, Jason Todd. So while it is well sculpted, it's the wrong body shape, going back to the shoulders and that bulk at the top, and it's the wrong type of body armor. And that's probably my nostalgic attachment to the character biasing my assessment there. You know, if I turn into his side, look at the fabric texture here at the top sleeve, and then the padded armoured sections on his gloves and at the top of his shoulder, and then moving down into the leg, more fabric texture detail in there down the leg, and the nice sculpting on the boots. You know, there's good visual elements to enjoy. And the cape, it's got a nice shape to it, a nice flow to it. Again, some nice fabric texture. There's depth to it in that respect. In fact, the cape is probably the most comic book accurate part of the figure, with the black on the outside and the yellow on the inside. Although I've got some messy paint applications up top here. Can you see over the shoulder? I mean, he's got a padded armoured arse, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Taking in the full-length view of the figure and the overall aesthetic experience there, I also feel like his legs are too long. He seems too tall, and I think that's possibly because he's got two long legs in addition to the wrong body shape up the top here. So his legs seem too long. The feet, I've said this about McFarlane before, but the feet just feel a bit kind of canoe-like, you know, sticky out your feet, which don't seem to help the independent standing ability of the figures either. That's probably why he puts footstands in with them. But he just feels too tall, and I think that is because these legs seem really long and just don't seem right. And while I'm on the legs, look at his thighs. Look at the musculature in here. I mean, it's a good sculpt. Again, it's good, big, muscular legs, but they're not right for the character. And I suspect all of this, the body armor, the bulky legs, the length of the legs, it's all down to book reuse, you know, and the McFarlaneization of the DC characters, because, you know, Todd likes body armor. You know what I mean? Colour scheme's good. The red is a nice vivid red. It's a good green. It lines up with my mind's eye as to what the red and green and the yellow of the character looks like. Nice bright yellow in there. That's rock solid. So the colour schemes are nice. The skin tones are all right, other than a bit of shininess in the plastic there. So we've got that aspect at least. You know, good colour palette choices that are in line with what we think and feel of the character. So in conclusion, I feel like I've got no other choice but to give the Robin from DC Multiverse a thumbs down. I just don't think the aesthetic, the visual experience is where it needs to be. There's too many missteps, you know, that I've just described for me to feel comfortable saying anything other than that. With the small print, the reiteration of the small print, that this may be my nostalgic attachment to the character lending some bias to the review, but you know, I'm open to having my mind changed, so let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comments below. Okay, folks, so I'm going to take us into the articulation now then, and it's standard fare for McFarlane Toys. It's the routine articulation scheme, and if you've had a McFarlane's DC Multiverse figure in hand, you'll know the script here, really. So if you're new around these parts, or you've never had a McFarlane figure in your hand before, I'll do a quick rundown, but there's not a great deal of deviation from the standard operating procedure there, nor is there much in the way of design obstructions or anything to point out. So I'll just whip through this dead quick, starting with the head. Ball at the top of the head, giving good up, good down, decent swivel all the way round, little bit of tilt, so the ball at the top of the net there is giving a lot of good motion in the head area. Then it's the McFarlane shoulder joint there, giving full 360, a little bit of shuffling back and forth, along with the hinge in the armpits that give us the T. There's a swivel there at the top of the bicep and tricep, although I will focus on that for a moment, because what they've done is they've placed it in line with the sleeve line, which is great, all for that. But then what that means is when you swivel it, you can see it kind of creates a weird, unnatural, uncanny situation with the arm. So even though we've got the cut at the top of the bicep tricep, you're probably not going to find yourself using it a great deal. It's a pin double elbow that's getting you up to there. Then the hand and wrist area is the standard McFarlane ball wrist engineering-y thing. Gives you some front, some back. There's the hinge in there, and then you can swivel all the way around on that ball. Although it's a bit awkward, you have to really grab hold of it and turn that ball if you're looking for some upward motion. Then into the torso, got the diaphragm cut there. Gives you some good swivel on the top. Not great crunch though. That's mostly because of the way the sculpting, the moulding there in the body armor gets in the way, but definitely lots of good swiveling. There's also a swivel at the waist there. I don't know if you can try and move my finger so you can see it a bit better, which is under the belt line. Moving down then into the groin area, it's the McFarlane, leg joint thing, which has got a little bit of movement in and out there, and then obviously the fantastic Russian ballet action that allows you to, dance across the stage gracefully. As is often the case with McFarlane, the forwards, all right, I suppose. Then we've got a pin double knee getting you up to there. No thigh cut, no boot cut, which I think McFarlane desperately needs, especially for these more sort of gymnastic-y, martial arts-y trained heroes, but, he's never going to do it, is he? Then down into the ankle and the feet, we've got the ball technology in the ankle there as well, although as you can see, I appreciate aesthetically that they've integrated that much better into the boot line. They've been doing this with a few of their figures lately, and that's a marked improvement in the ankles, which offers you some forward, some back hinge action, and some rocker action there. And of course, as is always the case with McFarlane Toys, they can bend their toes. So I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm always a little bit down on the McFarlane Toys articulation scheme. I do find it restricting and limiting and doesn't compare to Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe Classified series. You know, it's clear from this channel that's my favourite line at the moment. But I go in knowing that. You know, I think that's an important part of this narrative, really. I go in knowing that they are more statuesque in nature with some action figure elements than they are action figures with good visual elements, you know. And so that's okay. I suppose if Robin was more visually engaging for me and enjoyable, then I'd be less down on the articulation scheme. I'd kind of find a pose that I like and go for it. So by McFarlane's own standards, yeah, you know, it's you get nothing new, but it's not going backwards in any way there. I just feel like it's a disappointment with these more athletic, you know, non-superpowered gymnasts, martial artists. We should have more range of movement, more options, but as a solid display piece and giving you at least something to work with, it's there. But, you know, especially at the price point. There's no complaints. So there you go. There's the articulation. Okay, accessory time, and there is a bit of stuff included with Robin to add some value to the overall package. Of course, the key feature accessory-wise is the bow staff here. Tim Drake's, you know, weapon of choice, gifted to him by Lady Shiva in that very first miniseries when he went out into the world to learn some of his martial arts craft. Although I suspect this one is more modelled on a modernised, more technologically advanced version than that one. But yeah, it's got a nice metallic paint job on it to give it its lovely metallic shiny feel. It's got some sculpting points in it. It's flexible, but it's all right. It's rigid enough when it's in his hand. It's fine. It's a bow staff. You know, it's a straight silver stick with some sculpted detail in it. We then have the standard Batarang. This is reuse. I think, you know, there's been a Batman, a Nightwing. There's been a few Bat-related characters that's had one of these in their packaging, which is fine. You know, it's definitely a Bat family, you know, related piece of accessory. But I suppose, again, in terms of comic book accuracy, Tim Drake didn't use Batarangs like this, at least at the time I was reading the comics. He had his own R-shaped, like, little sort of spiky shuriken thing that he used. His own Robinarang. Robinarang. I wonder if there's an official term for those, but it wasn't a Batarang like this. But it's fine. It works. It's, you know, it's nice for a bit of posing storytelling, I suppose. Then we have the, you know, the DC Multiverse foot stand that comes as standard with all DC Multiverse figures. Big fan of this, big supporter of this move by McFarlane Toys, and I would encourage all other action figure manufacturers, particularly Hasbro, to start including one of these type things as standard. I'd love to see G.I. Joe getting those G.I. Joe foot stands that was in the retro line with every figure. But big supporter of these. These are also vitally important with McFarlane Toys because they're 7-inch and they're a bit more top heavy and a bit bulkier. Your balance, you know, your centre of gravity on the figures can be a bit tricky, so the foot stands are enormously helpful in that respect too. And then finally we have the trading card. Got this wonderful Brian Bolland artwork. I mentioned in the unboxing, I think I brought it up, that this is from the front cover of the first issue of the Robin mini series. That's him out in Paris, where he goes out on his journeys to start his training to be Batman's sidekick, which is fine. A lovely piece of artwork that I remember fondly from back in the day. Then on the back, we've got some biographical information there if you want to take a look. I don't know. What do folks say? Pause the video. But that's all commonly known stuff about Tim Drake. These are fine. They're a nice touch. They're very nostalgic for the old school action figure collectors like me who remember getting trading cards of this nature, and I'm a trading card collector too, but they do tend to just sort of get slotted in a binder, never really truly to be looked at again. So yeah, they're okay, they're nice. It's a lovely addition, but I could take them or leave them, really. So yeah, the accessory selection's fine. It's a thumbs up there. It's certainly not an overabundance. It's not an embarrassment of riches by any stretch of the imagination. But again, you have to acknowledge the price point that we're going in at with McFarlane Toys. And I think for the money you pay, these are relevant and useful accessories, the bow staff and the foot stand in particular. So no complaints on that front. Would I like an R-shaped comic book accurate shuriken? Yes, I would. Didn't get one, so you know, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep over it or anything. So yeah, it's all right. It's a decent accessory selection. There's not a great deal else to say, really. It's a bow staff. It's a silver stick. Okay, folks, quick figure comparison time, and this is where things really fall apart with Robin, I'm sad to report, because this is the recent Nightfall Batman, who you would imagine would be a great display pairing for the Tim Drake Robin, but look at they're the same height. In fact, I'd argue that Tim Robbins from the Shawshank Redemption, Tim Drake Robin is as tall, if not a touch taller, than Batman. In fact, if you look at the way the pant line goes on his underpants, it makes his legs look even longer. So just really, like, Todd at his worst when it comes to just this ignoring of scale. So there you go. There he is with the Nightfall Batman. Here's the Robin next to the Azrael Batman, the Asbat, which again, you know, the height difference does not sit right with me with regards to how these two characters interacted back in the 90s in the comic books. Although I have got Asbat slightly hunched over and with a bit more kink in the knee than the Robin, but still, again, these would be arguably a great shelf display pairing for these characters, and it just doesn't look right, does it? The height and the body shape just... And here is Robin with the recent Jim Lee Batman, which, you know, again, this young teenage apprentice sidekick is as bulky and as tall as the Jim Lee Hush edition of the character. Oh, my God. Moving on from the comparison, it's depressing me. Okay, folks, well, in conclusion, I think this is not a MoDXtra Games and Collectibles recommends. I just don't feel like I can recommend this Robin based on the thoughts that I've shared with you today. It's just too far of a misstep away from comic book accuracy and too much of a step into McFarlaneization and cheap corner cutting with book reuse to get a figure out to market. And, you know, I've just not enjoyed the figure. Not engaged with it much. And I think it would be fair to say that regulars around these parts would tell you that while I offer critique of figures, I'm often not this disappointed, and I am legitimately disappointed. However, I will once again, for the third time in this video, reiterate that I may well be firmly biased against this figure because Tim Drake is one of my most favourite DC comic book characters. He was a key figure at a time when I was reading, like picking up the monthlies down at the comic shop regularly. You know, he's a big part of those formative years of my early teenage life, and so that nostalgic connection, you know, to the character, that really fond place where I hold Tim Drake in my nerd heart, may well be hugely influencing the way this review has gone. So please do bear that in mind. But I think, I don't know, I don't think I'm being unfair. I think the head does look a bit like, like, where's his neck? You know what I mean? And why is he in body armor? And I don't know, it's just too much. And why is he as tall as Batman? That's like the biggest one, isn't it? So, all right, I'm going to stop now because I'm not going to sit here just laying it on thick, criticizing the figure. If you have found this useful, if you're thinking about picking one up for yourself and you have found it useful, I would be so grateful if you took a moment to hit a thumbs up, like, and, you know, this, I'm not out. This is not the one that's moved me away from McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse. So if you like DC Multiverse related reviews, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, if you're a regular around these parts, a quick favour to ask: if you shop with Entertainment Earth, then please consider using the Entertainment Earth affiliate link down in the description below. That's a win-win for you and me because you get 10% off any in-stock order and free delivery for any order over $79, and I get a little kickback for sending you over there. So that's definitely one way you can show your support for the channel and help support me keep a nice constant flow of interesting figures to review. Right, okay, well, there we go. So thanks very much. I've been Chris. This is MoDXtra Games and Collectibles, and I hope you have a tremendous day. See you later, folks.